Hello, everybody, and it has just finished Qatar 0, Ecuador 2. I'll be going through my instant match reaction and my thoughts about the game. Firstly, congratulations to Ecuador on this amazing win because this would provide them with a lot of confidence and good momentum heading into their next two group stage games. And if they keep at it, I think there's a possibility that Ecuador can make it through. And yeah, sorry for the dodgy lighting. I think, hold on, let me fix this. That should be fine. Anyways, about the match. Ecuador was not here to play. They were not here to play. Obviously, it showed with that early offside goal that could have led to something big, and Qatar had to really stay on their feet. And obviously, to be honest, this match was David versus Goliath. Like there was nothing else. Ecuador simply outclassed them, outworked them, outthought them, you name it. I think Qatar just didn't have anything. They just were just bad. Like honestly, if you don't have the talent, which Qatar obviously didn't have, what they could have done is work harder than them. If they worked harder, and on off the ball, on the ball, I think it could have been a very different match. But unfortunately, they just didn't. Like the first half, it was an Ecuador annihilation. Firstly, let's talk about that penalty goal from Valencia, who is my man of the match personally because obviously he scored the two goals and helped Ecuador. Firstly, I think it was a good penalty. Good chance creation by Ecuador to get that penalty, but just clumsy defending and it's beautifully taken penalty, can't take a penalty, and yeah, that's about it. It was a pretty good penalty, and with that second goal, good cross from Ecuador and just a beautiful header, like honestly a beautiful header, which was absolutely amazing, which made it 2-0 for Ecuador. So let's speak about this first half in terms of Qatar's perspective. They weren't doing well at all. I think, they were quite tired. They just weren't willing to do anything. They just weren't will. They didn't have that hunger, that desire that Ecuador had. Because first, I just saw Ecuador whenever they lost the ball, chase them down, tackled them. That grit, that grind. They just chased them down, Ecuador. And but for Qatar, I just don't know. I just think they just didn't do enough. They didn't want it for some reason. I mean, it's in your home country and it's your first ever World Cup. Obviously, they would want to prove something, but I don't know. I think they just didn't want it. And I think maybe another reason why Qatar didn't really do well was the occasion. Like, their first ever World Cup, they're obviously the host. There's a lot of pressure on them. And, Qatar's not typically good at football. And speaking of host nations, Qatar's the first ever host nation to lose their opening World Cup match. And that's, a stat that you don't want to have, like being the only country to have lost uh opening match and you are being the host, which isn't is good for them. So let's speak about Qatar in the first half continuing on. I think they just kept giving clumsy fouls, like stupid fouls, through the first half, through the entire game. Actually, like there was no need for them, but I don't know. I just think they were just giving clumsy fouls. They weren't attacking. They weren't, being creative. Whenever they try to do a little 1-2, it got broken down for some reason. They play it back to the center backs. It wasn't good from Qatar. And what I saw, especially in the second half, like what type of play they were doing. I think they wanted to play like a possessive form of football, a lot of possession. So they're making some quick passes near the end of the first half, which was good to see. But I think Ecuador just that grit, that grind, as I said, just managed to chase them and tackle them and just counter attack. So let's speak about Qatar's chances in the first half. They didn't really have many. The main chance was obviously that but at the brink of half time, that first half, they should have scored that. They could have scored that. That could have set the tone for the second half. If they scored that, it could have been a different story. But unfortunately, that did not happen, and Ecuador still had their 2-0 lead. Moving into the second half, I think Qatar actually played much better. Not much better, but a bit better. They did play better. They were making more chances. They were being more aggressive. They had that more want and desire around that, I'd say the 60th, 70th minute, but it was all long gone by then, and Ecuador just sealed the deal really. And yeah, I think if I was Qatar, if I was the manager, I'll just focus on letting my boys helping my boys, helping the lads mentally. I think if they have a more mental strength, it would be good. Like because they're playing Netherlands and Senegal. Because realistically, on paper, this was probably the only match on paper they could win, but they did. So they have two other group stages there. They can't run away from them. So as the manager, they have to be in a good mental state in order to face these big teams such as Netherlands and Senegal because they have more quality, in my opinion, than Ecuador. But if they just manage to outwork them, there will be a chance for Qatar to do some damage, and who knows, they might cause an upset result that could impact Group A, or maybe impact their chances of actually maybe qualifying. But at this rate, honestly, I think I'm exaggerating at this point. I think we all know that Qatar is definitely not going to qualify. But in my opinion, if I was a Qatar player, I would just want to prove to do my best and just at least have one moment that the country can savor, even if they don't qualify. Now it's Ecuador. That was a solid performance from the Ecuadorians. Valencia and the boys did very, very well. From the get-go, they were attacking, they were pressing, they were high intensity. They were doing very well, and I think I was an if I was an Ecuadorian right now, I'll be very happy because I watched my team absolutely annihilate Qatar, and Ecuador should use this momentum because they're on good form currently, and they're playing. I think the Senegal and the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands and Netherlands are the favorites of this group. You know, everyone predicted them to be first. But if they use this momentum against Qatar, I think they have a chance to maybe cause an upset. Like Valencia was doing well, Saicedo did all right, Estupan did all right. I think Mendes did quite good. Estrada he did all right. I think the main sort of I saw flair other than Valencia was I forgot his name, but he was the guy that came on for Ibarra and from Brighton. I think he's in Brighton now, but and I think he showed some sort of flair, some sort of tenacity against Qatar. Obviously, he missed one of those chances that went over the bar that could have been 3-0, but overall, I think he can cause problems for the Netherlands off the bench. Now, speaking of Valencia, the main man who scored 2 goals and personally my man of the match, I think he has to be fit because if he's not fit against Netherlands, Ecuador is going to have a long day because he is the main man, the goalsman, the talisman of this team, the captain of this team. And I think he can pose a real threat for the Netherlands because those 2 goals, obviously, the penalty was a good penalty, calm penalty, and the second goal, a very, very good header. And without him, I think Ecuador would be in a world of trouble. So hopefully, Valencia's knee gets better and Ecuador is able to have him in order to progress. In my opinion, there's a chance of Ecuador finishing second. They could lose to Netherlands. However, I think they can beat Senegal because obviously Senegal don't have their main man, Sadio Mane. So that might cause some problems within the dressing room, within the structure of the team. So Ecuador could capitalize on that after their game against the Netherlands, and hopefully they could win and get second because Ecuador is actually a very good team. Like South America, people talk about Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. I think Ecuador does go under the radar because bear in mind Colombia and Chile didn't even make it out. And on paper, you could say they have better teams. But Ecuador, that team chemistry, that tenacity, that intensity, that hard work really shows. And that is why they're at the World Cup today. So anyways, that's it for the video. That was my match reaction for Ecuador versus Qatar. Catch you guys later. See you soon. Bye.